All right, all right, all right. Hello, everyone, and now welcome to a bonus cast. Still trying to find all of my proper sound settings, learning, reading through the manuals to figure out where clipping actually happens on my solo, and my solo Scarlet and all of those. Learning a new soundboard and then actually taking the time to listen to a couple of adjustments as I'm making them live. I do run sound. I do know how to do sound. I just don't EQ myself on my own computer. So it's taking a little bit longer overall. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump into this game. Grubby spawning as the yellow orc on the bottom right-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, on the top left-hand side of the map, we have Starbuck spawning as the blue orc. Couple of things I did try to adjust. I tried to adjust. There unfortunately is no high pass filter, so I had to lower my low ends a little bit so I'm not nearly as boomy, and then raise my mids. Let me know if it does sound a little bit crisper and cleaner. Yeah. I try not to play with those settings because I sometimes can be a bit of a perfectionist and then it just gets in the way. But I do agree. Sorry, guys, the quality was a bit down in terms of the audio. And if you guys just really wanted Warcraft 3, you guys would just download the replay instead of listening to my commentary. So I thank you for all of your support over the years. Now, it is going to be a Blade Master opening up with a Grunt. Voodoo Lounge should be placed down here in just a second. Meanwhile, Farseer going to be going for, or excuse me, Starbuck going to be going Farseer Headhunter most likely, but I don't see the second Orc Burrow yet. So the timing on this is going to be very, very key, trying to get that second Orc Burrow. Are we going to have a fast tech to tier 2? Most likely not, but I am curious. There's that second Orc Burrow being placed down. It could have been placed down a little bit earlier, but I don't know the Orc placements and timings all that much to try and min-max. All right, let's go make our way through. Blade Master gonna go after this Mammoth Creep Camp here, going after that Tuskarr Trapper first. Always going for that medium armor as that Grunt deals a little bit of bonus damage. And now moving on to the Mammoth and this Tuskarr Spearman. Meanwhile, Farseer going after a relatively easy green creep camp in the center portion of the map. Gonna leave behind some wolves as the Farseer picks up a Cloak of Shadows. Now, Blade Master has taken a little bit of damage and actually could be a little bit worse for wear. Oh, tried to get the last hit, not able to do that. Still racking up damage, and the Blade Master now does have Windwalk as the Blade Master escapes away at 102 hit points. However, Grubby's own base is going to be a little bit, well, under pressure here. Grubby went for a fast tech to tier 2, and now his Orc Burrows could end up getting taken down. One Orc Burrow taking quite a bit of damage, trying to finish it off. There goes a cancellation on the Orc Burrow. Are we going to resummon? There's a beautiful deny by Starbuck as the units are retreating back. Headhunters looking to fall back here as we are teching the tier 2 as well, getting up a third Headhunter. Farseer using that Cloak of Shadows very effectively, going to try to dive in to the position once more. Orc Burrows do have a couple of, well, peons inside trying to throw back as well, as Grubby is trying to set up some of these Orc Burrows. All right, Orc or Peon trying to get away here, going to get surrounded a little bit. And what is happening here? The wolves already in the very, very far back as the peons able to slip through here. Farseer are going to fall back. They're going to have an army of headhunters. There is no Voodoo Lounge, so the Farseer is actually a little bit worse for wear. Not going to have access to clarity potions. Not going to have those. Not going to have healing subs. So he needs to stay very much close to home and try and get to level 2. Blade Master is already healed all the way back up. Gonna make his way forth and perhaps try and steal a little bit of this experience as well. Oh, the Trapper. Is the item going to get stolen? The item is stolen. Farseer, Blade Master, there we go. Damage getting racked up. Farseer going to go ahead and Cloak of Shadows. There's a Dust of Appearance as the Farseer now down to 94 hit points. All right, Farseer dangerously low on hit points. Is it going to try and retreat all the way back? There is another Windwalking Strike and the death of a Farseer. Starbuck not getting that Voodoo Lounge early on actually comes back to haunt him as he had no easy way to heal and, well, left himself open for the blade of the Blade Master. All right, Panda. Grubby going to follow things up with a Panda as the second hero. Not your typical hero, as we see a Breath of Fire blow over, hitting one of those headhunters and, well, two of those headhunters there. All right, Panda trying to clear up the Shaman creep camp. There's some more wolves as well. This is going to get pressured and cleaned up once more as we're looking at the Farseer, well, halfway out from getting resurrected. We are at Stronghold, and because of this, this is actually going to delay a little bit further. We also see Farsight by the Farseer in terms of an ability. I was actually asked once by a Blizzard employee what would it take for Farsight to be used competitively in at the highest levels, and I said it's. To be honest, Farsight is just something that isn't used at the high levels because at the highest levels, most of the time, players know exactly where their opponent is. Yeah, just confirming as we see a quick reveal right there to see where that Farseer wanted to take a look. Farseer also did not pick up a clarity potion, so with no clarity potion right there, not going to be able to summon up additional wolves easily. All right, a little bit of damage. You can see the Blade Master is nearby. Ogre Magi Forest Troll Berserker gets taken down by the Blade Master. Grubby getting in that final shot right there as more damage still racking up. All right, you're going to see some damage. Scroll of Speed trying to get away. You're going to see that Blade Master down to 122 hit points, backing away. Panda unable to get a breath of fire off. We're looking at a Shadow Hunter getting resurrected. We should be getting up some healing salves and trying to heal up all of these low hit point units as they only have 375 since they have not been upgraded to Berserker. Farseer is still causing a little bit of problems here as we see a Polar Bear trying to, well, engage against all of these units too. All right, Sentry Ward placed down by Grubby. Grubby gonna see the main thoroughfare. What's happening here? Panda wants to try and retreat back here. Are we gonna see a little bit of an attack onto that Brewmaster, restricting the healing? That's the question there. As we see a Shaman with a Purge. All right, unit still looking to retreat back here, and there's another Farsight being used by the Shaman to keep track of where his opponent is. All right. What is this? What are they doing? Just, I guess, trying to disrupt healing. Farseer could get another hit on that Panda, but the Panda is already nearing full hit points. Nothing really to worry about. All right. Main army, Shadow Hunter sitting at level 1. Armies are going to try and engage here. Blade Master, are we going to see a breath of fire from the Brewmaster here trying to finish off some of those units? There's another, critical strike right there as the Shadow Hunter does have a clarity potion. There's that breath of fire. Unit's going to try and retreat back. Healing wave bouncing around. Farseer, Raider now out here on the battlefield. Are we going to see a couple of ensnares? We do, preventing the Blade Master from leading the charge, but the Panda still in position as a Purge goes down onto the Raider. All right, Purge onto the Raider. That is going to be a complete surround right there. Raider trying to back away. Healing wave bouncing around once more. However, I believe that's going to be too much damage. No, another ensnare goes across as the Blade Master going to find the back of that Raider. Raider down to 3 hit points. There's a Scroll of Healing as the Farseer now ends up being, being surrounded. There's that level 2 on that Brewmaster. The Blade Master down to 87 hit points. He somehow survives and lives to fight another day, even though he was extremely dangerously low on hit points as well. Starbuck, 46 supply over 51. Grubby, 43 over 51. As we see a Pit Lord from Grubby as the third and final hero. All right. Grubby getting the Pit Lord as the third and final hero. Rain of Fire, no, Howl of Terror going to be the opening or the opening choices here as the Forest Troll Berserker gets ensnared down. All right, a little bit of poking. Furball going to get taken out. Grunts, Pit Lord, Panda going to try to lead the charge here. Howl of Terror could greatly reduce the amount of damage being done. Fairy Fire on a Headhunter as well. Even though it's cast by the creeps, all damage, -4 armor there, as we're going to see a couple of ensnares go down, perhaps try and prevent that retreat. All right, there goes another Purge onto some Spirit Wolves. There's a Breath of Fire racking up more damage. I do not see a Scroll of Healing on Starbuck, so this is going to be a tough battle. 46 supply compared to 50. We are at tier 3. There goes another ensnare. Peons now making their way over. 9 minutes, 31 seconds into this game, and still no clear-cut sign of what these players are trying to do yet. All right. Raiders making their way over. All right, we are at Fortress. There is really nothing to show for the Fortress except for that third hero there. Perhaps the Shamans could go into mastery training eventually as we see another wolf getting cleaned up. Starbuck is just unsure of how to apply pressure in this spot. As we see a Haloterra, Breath of Fire, Scroll of Protection, and, well, still a Scroll of Healing onto that Farseer. All right, we could see a little bit of damage here. Scroll of Protection as well. No Spirit Link, though. So normally, when you see a bunch of peons being brought into the battle, Spirit Link is used to try and use that 250 hit points of those peons. The peons are rarely focused down, but instead, with their slower movement speed here, they're just getting picked off easily. All right, a little bit of creeping by Grubby. 2-2-1, going up against perhaps a level 3, level 2 eventually, if the Farseer can clear out this orange creep camp here. All right, a couple of ensnares do go down. Raiders may try and charge in, perhaps get some damage onto that Voodoo Lounge. Voodoo Lounge going to easily get cleaned up. A second Voodoo Lounge already being placed down, as well as the Shadow, or as the Farseer. Well, I would have thought would have gotten closer to level 3 during this time, as another proxy Voodoo Lounge getting placed down here. All right, armor, or excuse me, a quick ensnare there. Blade Master trying to retreat back. Farseer sitting at level 2 here. Blade Master going to try and come and engage, go chase after those units. Forest Troll High Priest, does it give level 3? It does. Level 2 Spirit Wolves could be a big difference here, as that would help, but instead the Shadow Hunter Invul Potion going to go ahead and stay alive. Healing Wave bouncing around, Mirror Image to try and break that ensnare, and the battle's still raging on. Shadow Hunter, 15 seconds of invulnerability. More units getting cleaned up here. Need to try to take down some of those grunts, as the Shadow Hunter needs to break free from this spot. Invul Potion finally comes to an end here. Is he going to finally be able to break free? Blade Master, Scroll of Healing, Breath of Fire coming across again. So much damage, as now the Pit Lord could end up having problems. Pit Lord going to end up getting taken down. Lightning Shield onto Grubby's grunt here. At level 1 Pit Lord falls. Panda still decently high on hit points. Blade Master trying to go after all of these headhunters, and Healing Wave still keeping the units alive. Low hit point grunt. We are seeing a double level up on the Panda and the Farseer, on the Shadow Hunter here, as the battle is still going through. All right, Blade Master down to 139 hit points. Are we going to see an ensnare? No, we are not. No Hex either. It's going to be a ensnare on a grunt instead. Shadow Hunter stays at level 3, and the units are going to try and retreat back here. 43 supply compared to 50. A little bit more damage, perhaps a couple of ensnares to go down after these units. There goes an ensnare. And trying to finish off this last peon. One last peon to get finished off here. But no, that peon able to escape away at 10 hit points. All right, going to go ahead and engage. Clarity Potion's going to quickly get, well, countered here. Shadow Hunter trying to retreat all the way back. Blade Master diving in. Bloodlust onto the Shamans. So we finally see the tier 3 come through. Bloodlust on the Shamans for faster attack speed and movement speed, as the Blade Master is trying to retreat back. Mastery Shaman, 10 to 11 damage with faster attack speed, but the Blade Master falls at level 3. All right. Farseer, Shadow Hunter trying to, well, hold off the larger-than-life Brewmaster and Shaman due to that Bloodlust having that larger animation screen, as we're still looking to engage again. All right, Kodo Beasts are out here on the battlefield. Hungry Kodos, a very old-school strategy going back to 2009, just devouring those grunts. 49 supply compared to 35, and 9 of that supply is in the belly of these Kodo Beasts. All right. Little bit of damage still heading on through. Raiders going to try and engage here. They do have medium armor, but they need to be wary of those grunts. The grunts still do big damage, even though the Shamans do not. All right, trying to dive in after all of those units again. Kodo Beast down to 458 hit points. It's trying to retreat back. Blade Master back out here onto the battlefield. Are we going to see an ensnare? Yes, ensnare onto the Blade Master there. Units are going to fall back again. Shaman falling. 49 supply compared to 31 at this point, as the Kodo Beast is still slowly trying to digest, and one Kodo Beast does end up digesting a grunt here. Are we going to see another digestion of a grunt? This Kodo Beast, there's a quick Hex going back around. Panda getting ensnared. Grubby is going to find himself in a little bit of trouble, losing the level 3 Panda, and this could be the game here, as level 4 Shadow Hunter and level 4 Farseer come away with the win. Let me know what you guys thought about this game in the comments below. Also, still checking out and trying to fine-tune my audio and casting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.